Hey, what's going on, everybody? Kendall here with the Wealthy Legacy Journey, and this is going to be a book report on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. What a great book! What a great read! Amazing amount of golden nuggets. Let me just give you my high level overview right quick. What is this book about? Definitiveness of purpose, how to be focused, how to be disciplined, how to keep your mind in the game, how to keep going the right direction, to know where you're going, have a purpose driven life, all of those different things. Wow, this book was so good, packed with amazing amount of golden nuggets. You can see I even got like a little note sticking up from here. So many highlights, so many notes, so many things that I absolutely love. Some of the chapters I resonated with more, some less, but overall, absolutely outstanding. I can tell you right now, this is going to be a book that I read more than once. There was a lot to consume here. This book was written about 100 years ago, and it shows the English, the way some things are just structured a little bit different. I noticed, I was telling Libby, I had to think about what was being said, and then after I figured that out, I had to think about what he meant by what was being said. But it was so good. You can tell that Napoleon Hill thinks at another level. Entering into his mind, his thought processes, his philosophies definitely also help to take me to the next level. Let's go through each chapter. I want to kind of do a high level overview of each chapter, what they mean, what he's talking about, and then we'll dive into some of the quotes and different things from the entire book. Chapter 1, Introduction. The man who thought his way into a partnership with Thomas A. Edison. Right there, I can already tell you, like, everything that Napoleon Hill talks about is the power of your mind, the power of your words, the power of your thoughts, and how you can take control over the power of your thoughts and your mind in order to take control of your life and of your destiny. Chapter number 2, the chapter title is Desire, the starting point of all achievement, the first step towards riches. And isn't he so right? Isn't that so true? We begin with this first burning desire. We have to get this clear picture for what is it that we want to do? What is it that we feel passionate about? What is it that we feel purposeful about? What is it that we are going to make the pursuit of our life? So, first, it begins with this burning desire. Chapter number 3 now takes us into faith, visualization of, and belief in attainment of desire, the second step towards riches. So, once you have this clear mental picture of where is it that you're going, what is it that you're going to be doing, what is it that you're going to be accomplishing, you know that you're going to be able to do this without a shadow of a doubt. You're going to keep moving forward at all costs to see this goal through. The next step you have to have is faith. Faith that you can actually do it. Faith that you can find the tools, the resources, and abilities to turn this desire, this dream, into an achievable goal. The next chapter, chapter 4, auto suggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind, third step towards riches. So once you have a desire, and then you've attached faith to that desire, believing that you can get there, knowing that this is an achievable goal, something that you do plan to reach, to do, to master, to conquer, then you have to start planting the ideas into your subconscious mind that are actually going to get you where you need to go. What sort of positive thinking, positive thoughts are you going to have to be able to plant into your subconscious to think on and have the right mindset of the wealthy that have preceded you in that pursuit or similar types of pursuit? What mindset did they have to put on in order to get where they went? How do you put on those same thoughts, those same mindset? Chapter number 5, specialized knowledge, personal experiences or observations. This is the fourth step towards riches. And he really dives into the importance of realizing that, yes, it does take some practical skill sets and really knowledge, right? That we have to know, we have to acquire, we have to understand how to do the thing that we plan to do. Right there, there's some foundational information that we have to receive. So we have to figure out, where are we at in that process? What specialized knowledge do we currently have? What specialized knowledge do we need to obtain in order to get to that desired end goal? Chapter number 6, imagination, the workshop of the mind. So once we have desire, faith, autosuggestion, and we have the specialized knowledge, the sixth step is imagination. How do we begin to think of things that haven't been created yet? How do we become the Imagineer of our own life to design and to create something that maybe we haven't seen or has never even been seen by the world before? How do we take this idea and this principle and that principle and join them all together to create something new, something exciting, something that we are passionate about? Chapter number 7, organized planning, the crystallization of desire into action. So once you've gotten all this thought right, then it is going to take putting down a roadmap. Here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey, we have our 4 steps to success methodology, and it begins. Step number 1 is step number 1. In fact, 2 and 3 are all questions. It's not until step number 4 that you get to action. Step number 1, and this is my, our own Wealthy Legacy Journey doctrine here. Step number 1, though, is a question: where do you want to go? Step number 2 is: where are you at right now in relation to where you want to go? Step number 3 is then create the roadmap. Ask yourself, what is the steps that's going to take to get from where I'm at right now to where I want to go, my big end goal, right? You have this desire for the end goal. You've had some faith that you can get there. You create a little bit of a roadmap of, okay, I understand where I'm at right now. I'm going to have to acquire some specialized knowledge. I'm going to have to, plant some ideas into my mind, believing that I can get where I want to go. I'm going to have to create an organized plan of the steps in order to get from where I'm at right now to where I want to go. And then at the Wealthy Legacy Journey, our 4th step to success is an action step. What is it? Look at your roadmap of the steps it's going to take to get from here to there, and just simply do the next right one. This is basically what is being talked about here in Organized Planning by Napoleon Hill in chapter 7, except for he goes into much greater detail. It was absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that he talked about. We are going to circle back and go into some of the quotes. I love this here. There is another author who entered just quite the literate treasure into my entry here. Liliana did this little note, and I know it's a little bit of a side note, but I sure do love my kiddos. And doesn't having something worth living for make the journey more exciting? After organized planning, which was quite a extensive chapter, he goes into great detail. Move to chapter number 9, persistence, the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Wow. This was good. This is where the rubber starts meeting the road. This is where we realize that this isn't necessarily going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. We're going to have to be like the train going up the hill saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, and keep pushing, keep going, don't give up. That leads us to chapter number 10, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. In this, it's the mastermind is in a mastermind group of people. It's having that counsel, right? In an abundance of counsel, there is victory in the war. That's the Bible. It's paraphrasing a verse from the Bible. I believe it's in Proverbs. But the fact that we need to surround ourselves with wise counsel, that's his mastermind that he's talking about there. Having a group of people who can push you in a positive direction, who can help get you where you want to go, and you can help get them where they want to go, and you all move each other in a positive direction. Chapter number 11, and I'm not saying this one was wrong by any stretch of the imagination. This is one, just me personally, if I'm being honest, I had the biggest struggle connecting with and understanding. I would love to hear somebody who really resonated with this chapter's understanding for what this chapter deeply meant, so that way I could understand it on a deeper level. But it is the mystery of sex transmutation, and he basically talked about how powerful of a driver sexual desire is, and how to take that driver of sexual desire and put it into conquering big goals. Now, I understand the driver and the power of it. I do understand the power of big goals and how much oomph and effort it takes. And I do understand how much Libby has helped me in clarifying my goal and chasing after it, having a woman that I want to provide for and give for, and just be able to bless abundantly. That has been a driving force for me to be able to continue on in my hardest, darkest days. Having kiddos who I know depend on me and I want to leave a legacy behind for them, that has been a driving force that's gotten me through my deepest, darkest days. So maybe it has something to do, especially with the connection with Libby and her being a driving force in my life, me wanting to create something for her. I suppose that that might be the principle he's going for there, but that's chapter 11. Chapter 12, the subconscious mind, the connecting link. He goes into again the power of your thoughts, the power of your mind, the power of planting positive thinking in that brain of yours, because it really is a massive influencer in your life. Chapter number 13, again about the mind, this time the brain, a broadcasting and receiving station for thought, talking again about the power of making sure you have positive thoughts coming in and you can push the negative thinking and the negative thoughts out. Don't let them in. Chapter number 14 here is the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. And he talks about this ability to be able to go inside of ourselves, to be able to connect with a higher power. And he calls it infinite intelligence. I would call this prayer, connecting with my God, connecting with the God of the universe, getting that deeper, those aha moments, those moments where you just had this epiphany and immediately it just popped into your mind of, oh, this is how I need to do this thing. This is how I need to conquer this obstacle. This is how I, whatever. I remember on multiple occasions of multiple of the larger projects that I was working on, if I'd get stumped, I would just walk away and think. And sometimes I would go for a walk. Sometimes it would be when I was drifting to sleep. A lot of times in the shower, I don't know why. The shower is my thinking place. Like as I'm just sitting there in the quiet, all of a sudden, like I have to have a notepad in there because I have so many ideas that come to me in the shower. It's like my space. But also my quiet time when I'm sitting there connecting with the Lord. I write these dear God letters. I connect with God, and I feel like I get so much insight and revelation through writing those letters. So this is what he's talking about: is just connecting with a higher power and the power of that, which I have personally experienced in my life. And that leads us finally to chapter 15, how to outwit the six ghosts of fear. And this was, wow, it definitely had to come at the end of the book because you had to be prepared mentally for what was coming. But geez, was it so powerful that I wish it could have been at the beginning, because I didn't really read it all in one sitting. And I wish I had this right out of the gate. Chapter 15 is the golden nugget awaiting you at the end of the trail. It's so good what he talked about. The six fears, how to fight them, how to recognize them, how to face them head on and knock and strike them down. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview. I want to go through each of the chapters, though. I'm just going to kind of scroll through, find the highlights, find the underlines. What were the things that deeply impacted me out of each chapter? I'm just going to kind of go through and read things. I'm not even going to say the page numbers as I go through, but I will reference what chapter they're on. He believed the formula should be taught in public schools and colleges, and expressed the opinion that if it were properly taught, it would so revolutionize the entire educational system that time spent in school could be reduced to less than half. This was Andrew Carnegie's idea, and this is just the secret of how to build wealth. This is in the intro, by the way, the author's preface. The secret to which I refer cannot be had without a price, although the price is far less than its value. And it cannot be had at any price by those who are not intentionally searching for it. You have to be looking for the truths in this book before you approach this book if you expect to glean from this book the truths hidden in this book. It cannot be given away. It cannot be purchased for money, for the reason that it comes in two parts. One part is already in possession of those who are ready for it. And that is the author's preface. Leads us into chapter 1, the introduction. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when they are mixed with definitiveness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects. And speaking of the first meeting between Barnes and Edison years later, Mr. Edison said, he stood there before me looking like an ordinary tramp. But there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after. He knew the desire that was in his heart. This man that had met with Mr. Edison, Mr. Thomas Edison, he knew what he had come for. He knew what his goal was, and he wasn't going to stop until he got it. Do you have that same type of desire, that same type of definitiveness of purpose in your own life when you pursue the goals that you're going after, or do you shy away at the first sign of difficulty? It's an important question to ask yourself. If it's really worth it to you, you're going to have to push through. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made up in his mind to stand by until he succeeded. It could not have been the young man's appearance which got him his start with Edison in Edison's office, for that was definitely against him. It was the thought that counted. It was his mindset. It was the fact that Thomas Edison looked at him and saw that this is a man of purpose, of deep desire, with an unwavering goal that will not be shaken. So I might as well say yes now, because if I don't say yes now, I'm going to be saying yes later. I came here to go into business with Edison, and I'll accomplish this end if it takes the remainder of my life. That was a quote from this man. And I said here, focused intensity over time and determination. That's something from Dave Ramsey. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. So we have this desire, we have this goal, but then we stop short because of temporary defeat. The junk man took millions of dollars in ore from the mine because he knew enough to seek expert counsel before giving up. Oh, that was good. That was somebody talking about desire. He was talking about desire of a guy who was going through gold mine. That was so good. But listen to this. Another man on the same gold mine, he said, I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never stop because men say no when I ask them to buy insurance. Don't stop short, just barely short of the goal that you are pursuing. When riches begin to come, they come so quickly and in such great abundance that one wonders where they've been hiding during all of those lean years. Lean those years will be. When you begin to think and grow rich, you will observe that riches begin with a state of mind, with definitiveness of purpose, with little or no hard work. A great many years ago, I purchased a fine dictionary. The first thing I did with it was turn to the word impossible and neatly clipped it out of the book. That would not be an unwise thing for you to do as well. Success comes to those who become success conscious. Failure comes to those who indifferently allow themselves to become failure conscious. Set a goal worth chasing and chase it with relentless and consistent effort. That last one was my little golden nugget to myself after reading some of these pages. Back to the book. We are the masters of our fate, the captain of our soul, because we have the power to control our thoughts. Wow. Henley wrote those prophetic lines. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And he said he should have informed us that we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls, because we have the power to control our thoughts. Isn't that powerful? But do you feel like the master of your fate right now? Do you feel like the captain of your soul? Or are you being controlled by something else? Take control of your thoughts, and then you'll be the master of your fate, and you'll control your soul. Maintain a spirit of open-mindedness and remain as you read. And remember, as you read, they are the invention of no one man. These thoughts. I made up my mind then, even before you had finished your speech, that I would make a place for myself no matter how many difficulties I had to surmount. That is definitiveness of purpose. It doesn't matter how many mountains I'm going to have to climb. It doesn't matter the difficulties that I'm going to face. I will conquer. I will overcome. I have that definitiveness of purpose inside of me in building a business that's going to create huge value and impact for lots and lots of people. Do you have that same definitiveness of purpose in you? Question to ask yourself. That leads us to chapter 2, desire. Barnes' desire was not a hope. This is the man that worked with Thomas A. Edison. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, a specific goal, an exact goal. Is that how you set your goals? Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, placed all his energy, all his willpower, and all his effort, everything back of that goal. You know the crazy thing about the word all, as my pastor likes to say all the time? Crazy thing about all is that it means totally, everything, 100%. All is all, everything. You could say Barnes succeeded because he chose a specific goal. He placed everything he had of his energy, everything he had of his will, everything he had of his efforts, everything he had back of that goal. That's how we chase goals. He did not say, I'll work here for a few months, and if I get no encouragement, I'll just quit and get some job somewhere else. What he did say is, I will start anywhere. I will do anything Edison tells me to do. But before I am through, I will be his associate. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. The easy thing for Marshall Field to have done would have been exactly what his fellow merchants did. When the going was hard and the future looked dismal, they pulled up and went where the going seemed easier. Now, this was some Chicago fire that happened, and merchants were leaving, but he talked about his definite desire and it's going to cause him to stay. It is the same difference which distinguishes practically all who succeed from those who fail. But desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. Wow, excuse me, not dishes. Only those who become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. Back of all this, demand for new and better things. There is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definitiveness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. The greatest achievement was, at first and for a time, but a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the nest, and the high vision of the soul, a waking angel, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Remember, too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. Amen, Napoleon Hill. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at the moment of crisis, through which they are introduced to their other selves. The other self that can conquer, the other self that can push through, the other self that has definitiveness of purpose that will not give up. No one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. Before passing to the next chapter, kindle anew in your mind the fire of hope, faith, courage, and tolerance. There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty score. For life is just employer. He gives you what you ask, but once you set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for menials hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life would have willingly paid. Wow. Let that soak in. There is some absolute wealth, knowledge, things that you must go pursue for yourself inside of these pages. I am reading you the high level overview, skipping multiple pages that stood out to me. You got to read this book. Truly, my own son has taught me that handicaps can be converted into stepping stones on which one may climb towards some worthy goal, unless they are accepted as obstacles and used as alibis. So you have to choose. The obstacles that stand in front of you, those handicaps, they're going to stand in your way of success, or are they going to help you be stepping stones towards your goal, but doing it in a unique way that only you can do, because only you are handicapped by unique handicaps that you might be handicapped with. For an entire month, he carried on an intensive research during which he analyzed the entire marketing system of the manufacturer of the hearing device and created ways and means of communicating with the hard of hearing all over the world for the purpose of sharing with them his newly discovered changed world. When this was done, he put in writing a 2-year plan based on his findings. When he presented the plan to the company, he was instantly given a position for the purpose of carrying out his ambition. First, he turned desire into a focused plan. Then he turned a focused plan into an action. And if you guys remember, this is why I say that mindset precedes action. Action precedes value. Value precedes money, wealth, riches. If you want to build wealth, you have to provide value. If you want to provide value, you have to implement action. If you want to implement the right actions, you have to come to the plate ready with the right mindset. There is no doubt in my mind that Blair would have been a deaf mute all of his life if his mother and I had not managed to shape his mind as we did. It's my duty and a privilege to say I believe you and not without reason, that nothing is impossible to the person who backs desire with enduring faith. If Mother Nature bends to the will of desire, is it logical that mere men can defeat a burning desire? Never is a long time. The director of the Vienna Court Opera knew much about the technique of singing. He knew little about the power of desire, when it assumes the proportion of an obsession. But if he had known more of that power, he would not have made the mistake of condemning genius, without giving it an opportunity. Sometimes the leader has to help by pointing desire in a direction, then sit back and watch before counting it out. So us as leaders of our homes, our kids, our families, our businesses, even think about inside of the mind of our employees and our children and our spouses, how can we take desire and help to guide it and point it in the right direction for ultimate success? And how can we take our own desires and point our own desires in the right direction for ultimate success? To all these, I wish to convey the thought that all achievement, no matter what may be its nature or its purpose, must begin with an intense burning desire for something definite. Chapter 3, Faith. Repetition of affirmation of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. Like Ebenezer stones, reminding yourself of what has happened to build your faith. When men first come into contact with crime, they abhor it. If they remain in contact with crime for a time, they become accustomed to it and endure it. If they remain in contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it and become influenced by it. Perfection will come through practice. It cannot come by merely reading instructions. If it be true that one may become a criminal by association with crime, and this is a known fact, it is equally true that one may develop faith by voluntarily suggesting to the subconscious mind that one has faith. Faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles and all mysteries, which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. Faith is the only known antidote for failure. It is a well-known fact that one comes, finally, to believe whatever one repeats to oneself, whether the statement be true or false. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. An idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition thought. The subconscious mind, the chemical laboratory in which all thought impulses are combined and made ready for translation into physical reality, make no distinction between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It works with the material we feed it. Through our thought impulses, the subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by fear just as readily as it will translate into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. Be careful what you think on. Like the wind which carries one ship east and another west, the law of autosuggestion will lift you up or pull you down according to the way you set your sails of thought. During his work of research, the author discovered from the analysis of the life work and achievements of hundreds of men of outstanding accomplishment that there was the influence of a woman's love back of nearly every one of them. How powerful. Have faith from a woman that you deeply care about and love. Libby, mi amor, thank you for your faith, for believing in me, but never counting me out of the race. I appreciate it. That brings us to chapter 4, autosuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious. Nature has so built man that he has absolute control over the material which reaches his subconscious mind. In the great majority of instances, he does not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot in which weeds will grow in abundance if the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown therein. By following these instructions, you communicate the object of your desire directly to your subconscious mind in a spirit of absolute faith. Through repetition of this procedure, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Remember, therefore, when reading aloud the statement of your desire, through which you are endeavoring to develop a money consciousness, that the mere reading of the words is of no consequence unless you mix emotion or feeling with your words. Your subconscious mind recognizes and acts upon only thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. I said here, deep emotional connections are of critical importance to the words spoken to them to give them life and power. Back to the book, your ability to use the principle of autosuggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. I'm burningly obsessed for the Wealthy Legacy journey, for giving you guys high amounts of value, amazing content that's going to help lead you forward, building wealth and changing my family's directional path in life, and doing the same for you guys. Do you have a burning desire that you're chasing after as well? If you don't, get one. The instructions contained in this chapter must be understood and applied with persistence if you are to succeed in transmuting desire into money. That leads us to chapter 5, specialized knowledge. General knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of but little use in the accumulation of money. Most of the professors have but little or no money. They specialize on teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize on the organization or the use of knowledge. And that's what we do here. We organize practical step-by-step ways for how to use the knowledge that we are gathering. So wait, I can apply it and you can apply it, make a difference in our life. Before you can be sure of your ability to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent, you will require specialized knowledge of the service, merchandise, or profession which you intend to offer in return for fortune. Man, this book was good, just about really having clarity on you have to have a defined, refined, valuable skill set for the market in order to build something powerful. But there is one astounding weakness to this marvelous system. It's free. One of the strange things about human beings is that they value only that which has a price. It's been said before to me, and I think it's just a wonderful thing to keep in mind, is that people who don't pay attention. I'm not sure who said it first. I don't know who that's quoted from. I've heard it, I think I heard it from Russell Brunson. I'm not sure if he said it or if he quoted that from somebody else. But people who pay attention, and it's so true. So even though this video is free, I hope you guys are paying attention, but make sure you're paying attention as if you had paid for this content yourselves. Think if you had paid $1,000 to get the overview of this book. Hopefully I recorded on a little bit better system, but I'm working on my recording stuff right now. But your time is money. Your time is more valuable than money. So you're here, make it count. That we rise to high positions or remain at the bottom because of conditions we can control if we desire to control them. That leads us to the end. Remember the end of this chapter. Remember, the idea is the main thing. Specialized knowledge may be found just around the corner, any corner. So the idea for me, double dare your money being one of them, the specialized knowledge is the practical steps taken to double money from 0 to 100,000 and beyond. 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million. You get the point. Chapter number 6, imagination. Second minute here. This is a good, very good chapter. I've done a lot of study, research into, kind of imagination, Imagineering. This is talking about a lot of the circles of influence that I'm around. So, I didn't underline a single thing in that chapter. It was a good chapter though, but let me read this here at the end. Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. Go through that chapter, read it yourself, and find some of your own golden nuggets. Chapter number 7, organized planning. Let's see if I have any chapter. Here you go. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. I want to hang that on my wall. That's so good. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. Whew, so good. The major attributes of leadership. Unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and one's occupation, self-control, a keen sense of justice, definitiveness of decision, definitiveness of plans, the habit of doing more than paid for, a pleasing personality, sympathy and understanding, mastery of detail, willingness to assume full responsibility, and cooperation. So powerful. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership are the inability to organize details, unwillingness to render humble service, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know, fear of competition from others, lack of imagination, selfishness, intemperance, disloyalty, emphasis of the authority of leadership, emphasis of time. There's a difference. What is it? It's between when there's a leader and a boss, and like you see this picture sometimes where like a boss is sitting in the chair telling everybody where to go, whereas a leader is in front leading the charge on where everybody is going. Let's see. Organized planning. Did I get any more notes in this chapter? It's a good thing because we're actually already pretty good ways into this episode. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Here's one. Moreover, the money which is essential for the conduct of business is as worthless as a sand dune until it has been mixed with efficient brains. Lack of ambition above mediocrity. We offer no hope for the person who is so indifferent as to not want to get ahead in life and who is not willing to pay the price. Education consists not so much of knowledge, but of knowledge effectively and persistently applied. Men are paid not merely for what they know, but more particularly what they do with that which they know. If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self. Lack of persistence. The person who makes persistence his watchword discovers that old man failure finally becomes tired and makes his departure. Failure cannot cope with persistence. So what is one of the keys to success? To getting ahead, to building something that nobody else hardly has ever built, building the American dream. Persistence. Uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. You can't do something for nothing. If, like I just said, money follows value. Value follows action. Action follows mindset. Even if you were to go play the lottery, you had a mindset of I want to get rich quick and simply. By the way, most people who play the lottery lose their lottery winnings. But I want to get rich quick, simply, and easily. And so they take the action of going to buy the lottery ticket, which provides value for the entire ecosystem of the lotteries, increases the lottery winnings, and increases that pot. And somebody at some point is going to receive the final money payout from that lottery. But you know, the people who design and organize that lottery, they're getting paid out every single day. Occasionally there's a winner. But there's a lot better ways to build wealth that is more predictable, more sustainable, and I would say more rewarding than trying to win lottery. Overcaution is a dangerous thing. Lack of concentration of effort is not going to get you where you want to go. Concentrate all of your effort on one definite chief aim. Don't practice the habit of indiscriminate spending. Be disciplined with what you do. Having a lack of capital is going to be a crushing thing for anything that you try to build. That's why at the Double Dare Your Money, we start with something small. Well, first off, we get your finances right. We get your income greater than your expenses, get some positive cash flow going in life. We get rid of those bad debts, stop those poor money habits. Then we start with a small amount and we build something extraordinary. Let's see. Is there anything else here on organized planning that I underlined that I thought absolutely I must share this with the people? I don't think so. Oh no, there is some. Nope. We're now to chapter 8, decision. The mastery of procrastination. Every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing these decisions slowly, if and when they were changed. Without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing these decisions quickly and often. So this is talking about the 2 different money types. You should probably read the whole paragraph for that to make sense. This is just what I underlined. Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing these decisions slowly, if and when they were changed at all. People who failed to accumulate money, without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing these decisions quickly and often. If you're influenced by opinions when you reach decisions, you will not succeed in any undertaking, much less in that of transmuting your own desire into money. You have a brain and mind of your own. Use it and reach your own decisions. If you need facts or information from other people to enable you to reach decisions, as you probably will in many circumstances, acquire these facts or secure the information you need quietly without disclosing your focus. Let one of your first decisions be to keep a closed mouth and open ears and eyes. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first, show it. Actions do speak louder than words, after all, as my mama always said growing up. Great excitement followed. Some weighed the possible consequences of such radicalism, old man fear. Some expressed grave doubts as to the wisdom of so definite a decision in defiance of the crown. Locked in that room were two men immune to fear, blind to the possibility of failure, Hancock and Adams. Through the influence of their minds, the others were induced to agree that, through the Correspondence Committee, arrangements should be made for a meeting of the First Continental Congress to be held in Philadelphia, September 5th, 1774. Remember this date. It is more important than July 4th, 1776. If there had been no decision to hold a Continental Congress, there would have been no signing of the Declaration of Independence. The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. That leads us to chapter 9, ladies and gentlemen, persistence. Persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. Weak desire brings weak results, just as a small amount of fire makes a small amount of heat. If you find yourself lacking in persistence, this weakness may be remedied by building a stronger fire under your desires. This is why we're moving into the fifth wheel. We're putting big action behind our big desires. We are going to fuel this fire. The hidden guide lets no one enjoy great achievement without passing the persistence test. They receive something infinitely more important than material compensation, the knowledge that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. They are the ones whose desires are so persistently applied that defeat is finally changed into victory. If one does not possess persistence, one does not achieve noteworthy success in any calling. Persistence is a state of mind, therefore, it can be cultivated. Like all states of mind, persistence is based upon definite causes, among these being definiteness of purpose, desire, self-reliance, definiteness of plans, accurate knowledge, cooperation, willpower, and habit. There are also symptoms of lack of persistence, but I'm going to let you look and understand those symptoms for yourself. One that I did struggle with before I broke the cycle of debt was self-satisfaction. There is but little remedy for this affliction and no hope for those who suffer from it. I wanted to have all the things without having to build the wealth first, but having to do the wealth first, right? That's why we go into debt to buy things that we can't afford to impress people we don't really care about, do we? But why did I buy that nice truck? Why did I buy the nice house? Why do I feel concerned about selling my house? I don't know what people are going to think about me. But you know what? I can tell you this. When I tell people I'm selling my house to build my business and get out of debt, I have not had a single person tell me that I was doing the wrong thing. I was surprised by that. It's true. As many others, I encourage you to read them for yourself. I discovered that most ideals are stillborn and need the breath of life injected into them through definite plans and immediate action. The time to nurse an idea is at the time of its birth. Every minute it lives gives it a better chance of surviving. The fear of criticism is at the bottom of the destruction of most ideas, which never reach the planning and action stage. The only break anyone can afford to rely on is a self-made break. These come through the application of persistence. The starting point is definiteness of purpose. The necessary steps are a definite plan, a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment, a definite plan expressed in continuous action. Number 3, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including negative suggestions of relatives, friends, and acquaintances. And step number 4, a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose. That's what we're here for at the Wealthy Legacy Journey. We're here to encourage you, support you, and say, keep going, because the path you're on will produce fruit that's worth the effort. Let's see. What else does Napoleon have for us? That was it. That was the last things that I highlighted from chapter number 9, but it was amazing. Go back and read it for yourself. Chapter 10, Power of the Mastermind. Power may be defined as organized and intelligent directed knowledge. Sorry, been recording this for a little bit, getting a little tongue-tied. Men take on the nature and the habits of the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Poverty and riches often change places. The crash taught the world this truth. It's talking about the Great Depression. Although the world will not long remember this lesson, poverty may, and generally does, voluntarily take the place of riches. When riches take the place of poverty, the change is usually brought about through well-conceived and carefully executed plans. Poverty needs no plan. It needs no one to aid it, because it is bold and ruthless. Riches are shy and timid. They have to be attractive. Chapter 11, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. I'm not sure if I highlighted or underlined anything here. It was really interesting. The concepts that I did something here. Concepts that he presented were really interesting. I was just really digging through, like, how do I apply this? The major difference between the genius of the ordinary crank inventor may be found in the fact that the genius works through his faculty of creative imagination, while the crank knows nothing of this faculty. If good taste would permit, we might easily mention scores of men well known to the American people who climbed to great heights of achievement under the stimulating influence of their wives, only to drop back to destruction after money and power went to their heads, and they put aside the old wife for a new one. Even one guy in the Bible I can think about be Solomon. King Solomon, David's son. That was the pattern of his life, unfortunately. The public speaker, orator, preacher, lawyer, or salesman who is lacking in sex energy is a flop as far as being able to influence others is concerned. Coupled with this, the fact that most people can be influenced only through an appeal to their emotions, you will understand the importance of sex energy as a part of the salesman's native ability. This orgy of indulgence may account for the shortage of great leaders. No man can avail himself of the forces of his creative imagination while dissipating them. Every other animal responds to the call of sex only in season. Man's inclination is to declare open season. How do we control our own desires? To have self-control. Not every person knows, however, that overindulgence in sex expression may become a habit as destructive as detrimental to creative effort as narcotics or liquor. Let me reread that. Not every person knows, however, that overindulgence in sex expression may become a habit as destructive and as detrimental to creative effort as narcotics or liquor. Powerful. Love, romance, and sex are all emotions capable of driving men to heights of superior achievement. Love is the emotion which serves as a safety valve and ensures balance, poise, and constructive effort. The mind is a creature of habit. It thrives upon the dominating thoughts fed it. Through the faculty of willpower, one may discourage the presence of any emotion and encourage the presence of any other. Control of the mind through the power of will is not difficult. Control comes from persistence and habit. The secret of control lies in understanding the process of transmutation. When any negative emotion presents itself in one's mind, it can be transmuted into a positive or constructive emotion by the simple procedure of changing one's thoughts. Control comes from persistence and habit. So good. So good. It is a very old saying that a man's wife may either make him or break him, but the reason is not always understood. The making and breaking is a result of the wife's understanding or lack of understanding of the emotions of love, sex, and romance. Leads to chapter 12, the subconscious mind. You may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to do. Translate it into its physical or monetary equivalent. The subconscious acts first on the dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feelings such as faith. Remember, your subconscious mind functions voluntarily, whether you make any effort to influence it or not. This naturally suggests to you that thoughts of fear and poverty and all negative thoughts serve as stimuli to your subconscious mind unless you master these impulses and give it more desirable food upon which it may feed. The subconscious mind will not remain idle. If you fail to plant desires in your subconscious mind, it will feed upon the thoughts which reach it as a result of your neglect. Everything which man creates begins in the form of a thought impulse. Man can create nothing which it is not first conceived. The negative voluntary inject themselves, these emotions, into the thought impulses, which ensure passage into the subconscious mind. The positives must be injected. So negative thought impulses voluntarily inject themselves. Positives must be purposely injected through the principle of autosuggestion into the thought impulses which an individual wishes to pass on to his subconscious mind. You are preparing yourself to influence and control the inner audience of your subconscious mind. It is essential, therefore, that you understand the method of approach to this inner audience. You must speak its language or it will not heed your call. It understands best the language of emotion or feeling. The 7 major positive emotions, these must be actively injected. The emotion of desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. But the 7 major negative emotions have to be avoided because they try to actively inject themselves without your permission, your desire, or your influence. The emotion of fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, and anger must be avoided at all costs. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the same mind at the same time. Form the habit of applying and using positive emotions. Eventually, they will dominate your mind so completely that negatives cannot enter it. This was powerful. If you are an observing person, you must have noticed that most people resort to prayer only after everything else has failed, or else they must pray by a ritual of meaningless words. And because it is a fact that most people who pray do so only after everything else has failed, they go to prayer with their minds filled with fear and doubt, which are the emotions the subconscious mind acts upon and passes on to the infinite intelligence. Likewise, that is the emotion which infinite intelligence receives and acts upon. If you pray for a thing, but have fear as you pray, that you may not receive it, or that your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence, your prayer will have been in vain. When I read that, it made me think of a verse. It made me think of James chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. James, and I really kind of thought about it later. First, it talks about James being a bondservant of Christ. He says, "Consider it all joy when you encounter various trials, for faith and produces endurance, and endurance its perfect result. So you're lacking in nothing." But he says here later, "But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But he must ask in faith without any doubting. For the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For that person ought not to expect that he will receive anything from the Lord, being a double minded man, unstable in all his ways." I had this thought. I thought it was profound. What if the faith here, to be free of doubt, is the faith to be dedicated and decisive about the wisdom given to act on it? Like, what if here it's saying, hey, if you ask for wisdom and God answers, but you can't have definitiveness of purpose to act on it when you receive that wisdom, it's going to be meaningless. You're not going to receive anything from it anyways. So you're either not going to get the wisdom, or even if you get the wisdom, you're not going to be able to do anything with it because you don't know how to live with definitiveness of purpose. You don't know how to be an unwavering wave of the sea. But he must ask in faith without any doubting. For the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For that person ought not to expect he will receive anything from the Lord, being a double minded man, unstable in all of his ways. It's not merely the faith that God will answer, because even if he answers, if you're not decisive and steadfast in your decision making, the wisdom granted unto you will be worthless, as will not be applied wholeheartedly and consistently with full efforts over time. So good. That leads us Chapter 13, brain. Shorter chapter, really interesting. Out of the book I have here, it is not likely that the same system which gives billions of brain cells the media for communication one with another provides also the means for communication with other intangible forces. I don't know if I said this right at the beginning of the sentence, but is it not likely? It was a question. Is it not likely that such a sophisticated, powerful brain gives us the ability to communicate with other intangible forces? It was a really good chapter. Chapter 14, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This principle is the apex of philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles. Long before I had ever written a line for publication or endeavored to deliver a speech in public, I followed the habit of reshaping my own character by trying to imitate the 9 men whose lives and life works have been the most impressive to me. These 9 men were Emerson, Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. Every night over a long period of years, I held an imaginary council meeting with this group, whom I called my invisible counselors. Just getting into that right mindset, influencing your mind in the right ways. What would they say? I say it all the time. Libby and I are talking. I'm like thinking about how to make a money decision. I go, what would Dave Ramsey tell me if I were in a room with him right now, based on what I know about Dave Ramsey? What would his advice be to me? Or if I were in a room right now with Robert Kiyosaki, what would his advice be to me in this situation? Or any of the authors that we've gone through, what would be their advice to me in this situation? And I try not to think, what would I do? But I think, well, what would Dave Ramsey do? What would Robert Kiyosaki do? What would Napoleon Hill do? Even what would Jesus do? Jumping through the rest of this chapter, there was a lot of good stuff here, but that was the only thing that jumped out to me as something that had to be highlighted. This brings us to our last chapter. It was so good. How to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. You shall have to clear out indecision, doubt, and fear. The 6 basic fears are the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love of someone, old age, and death. The fear of poverty. There can be no compromise between poverty and riches. The 2 roads that lead to poverty and riches travel in opposite directions. Fear of poverty is a state of mind, nothing else. But it is sufficient to destroy one's chances of achievement in any undertaking. This fear paralyzes the faculty of reason, destroys the faculty of imagination, kills off self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiative, leads to uncertainty of purpose, encourages procrastination, wipes out enthusiasm, and makes self-control an impossibility. It takes the charm from one's personality, destroys the possibility of accurate thinking, diverts concentration of effort, and masters persistence, turns the willpower into nothingness, destroys ambition, but clouds the memory and invites failure in every conceivable form. It kills love and assassinates the finer emotions of the heart, discourages friendship, and invites disaster in 100 forms, leads to sleeplessness, misery, and unhappiness. And all this despite the obvious truth that we live in a world of overabundance of everything the heart could desire, with nothing standing between us and our desires, excepting lack of a definite purpose. Oh, so good. So good. There are some symptoms of the fear of poverty. I said, a great and practical way to overcome the fear of poverty is a fully funded emergency fund. Like, go Dave Ramsey. What he's teaching there, how to get control of money, so good. Like, we talk about that as well here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey. Some of those symptoms of the fear of poverty are indifference, doubt, worry, overcaution, procrastination. I'm trying to make sure I catch them all. I didn't highlight these. I guess that was the last one. It was good. I actually read through all of those. I really got a lot from that. Fear of poverty is probably my number 2 fear that I realized. And then fears of criticism is probably my number 1. I said, this is a big fear for me. I'm breaking it apart piece by piece right now. But fear of failure and like what others would think of me based on my decisions, that is a huge thing for me for a long time. In fact, when I thought about writing my book, The American Dream or Lie, I thought about, do I put my face on the cover of the book or not? And I thought, people are going to look at me as young, inexperienced. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really think I want to be on the cover of the book. And it was just right here, this fear of criticism, being criticized for not being enough. It's something I struggle with, but I am breaking it apart actively, mentally, knowing what I'm attacking piece by piece. It will not conquer me in my life. A reputable position Estimated that 75% of all people who visit physicians for professional service are suffering with hypochondria, imaginary illness. It has been shown most convincingly that the fear of disease, even where there is not the slightest cause for fear, often produces the physical symptoms of the disease feared. Powerful and mighty is the human mind. It builds or it destroys. There was this really cool story. Honestly, I don't really have time to share it, but of this patient who he was sick for very long. He was going downhill, and oh man, it was so good. This was on page 344, 345. It was good. Just go and read it, the story for yourself. It's that last paragraph of 344, first paragraph of 345. So good. The symptoms of the fear of ill health. This is never something I've ever struggled with, but I know people who have struggled with this, so I can understand it in my mind. This helped me to better understand where the root of that fear comes from. I've never really feared the loss of love. When Libby and I first got together, I did have some struggles, but I trust Libby fully now. There's absolutely no fear of loss of that love. Praise the Lord. I don't fear old age because I figure as I get older, ageism just slowly goes away. My hairs are going to get wider. I'm going to gain more wisdom. And you know what? The last one, the fear of death, absolutely not, because I can't wait to go be with Jesus. I love serving and helping people here, putting jewels into my crown for eternity with what I do here. But the day that I get to go be with Jesus face to face is going to be the best day of my entire life. I love my kids. I love my family. I love so many amazing things that happen to me, but I know that's going to be the best day ever. Not saying I'm wishing for that to happen right now, but I don't have a fear of it because I know where I'm going. That I'm definite. The greatest of all remedies for the fear of death is a burning desire for achievement, backed by useful service to others. Worry is a state of mind based upon fear. It works slowly but persistently. It is insidious and subtle. Step by step, it digs itself in until it paralyzes one's reasoning faculty, destroys self-confidence and initiative. Worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision. Therefore, it is a state of mind which can be controlled. During the Depression, the whole atmosphere of the world was filled with ferenza and worryitis. There is only one known antidote for these germs. It is the habit of prompt and firm decision making. The six basic fears become translated to a state of worry through indecision. Relieve yourself forever of the fear of death by reaching a decision to accept death as an inescapable event. Whip the fear of poverty by reaching a decision to get along with whatever wealth you can accumulate without worry. Put your foot upon the neck of the fear of criticism by reaching a decision not to worry about what other people think, do, or say. Eliminate the fear of old age by reaching a decision to accept it, not as a handicap, but as a great blessing which carries with it wisdom, self-control, and understanding not known to youth. Acquit yourself of the fear of ill health by the decision to forget symptoms. Master the fear of loss of love by reaching a decision to get along without love, if that is necessary. Kill the habit of worry in all its forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. The person who gives expression by word of mouth to negative or destructive thoughts is practically certain to experience the results of those words in a form of destructive kickback. You may control your own mind. You have the power to feed it whatever thought impulses you choose. With this privilege goes also the responsibility of using it constructively. Recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all the six basic fears and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Recognize that negative influences often work on you through your subconscious mind. Therefore, they are difficult to detect, and keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Clean out your medicine chest, throw away all pill bottles, and stop pandering to colds, aches, pains, and imaginary illness. Deliberately seek the company of people, who influence you to think and act for yourself. Do not expect troubles, as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to the negative influence of other people. At the end, there's this self-analysis test questions. I went through this. It was really powerful. It opened up my eyes to some really powerful things. I would highly recommend that you go through it. I might even on my in-depth report of this book, I might share my answers to those questions. I'm thinking about incorporating some sort of like, like deep dive, like putting all of my quotes on a piece of paper that you can print out, and some extra tidbits and stuff like this. I'm thinking about doing that. And adding that as a part when I write my book is kind of like an extra value stack item. So we'll see. But listen to this. If you fail to control your own mind, you may be sure you will control nothing else. Men with negative minds try to convince Thomas A. Edison he could not build a machine that would record and reproduce the human voice because they said no one has ever produced such a machine. Edison did not believe them. He knew that the mind could produce anything the mind could conceive, and that knowledge was the thing that lifted great Edison above the common herd. Men with negative minds told F.W. Woolworth that he would go broke trying to run a store on 5 and 10 cent sales. He did not believe them. He knew that he could do anything within reason if he backed his plans with faith, exercising his right to keep other men's negative suggestions out of his mind. He piled up a fortune of more than $100 million. Men with negative minds told George Washington he could not hope to win against the vastly superior forces of the British, but he exercised his divine right to believe. Therefore, this book was published under the protection of the Stars and Stripes, while the name of Lord Cornwallis has been all but forgotten. Doubting Thomases scoffed scornfully when Henry Ford tried out his first crudely built automobile on the streets of Detroit. Some said that the thing would never become practical. Others said no one would pay money for such a contraption. Ford said, I'll belt the earth with dependable motor cars, and he did. His decision to trust his own judgment has already piled up a fortune far greater than the next 5 generations of his descendants can squander. For the benefit of those seeking vast riches, let it be remembered that practically the sole difference between Henry Ford and a majority of the more than 100,000 men who work for him is this: Ford has a mind and controls it. The others have minds which they do not try to control. His record knocks the foundation from under that time-worn alibi. I never had a chance. Ford never had a chance either. But he created an opportunity and backed it with persistence until it made him richer than courageous. Mind control is the result of self-discipline and habit. You either control your mind or it controls you. There is no halfway compromise. At the end of that chapter, he has 57 famous alibis, things that we must avoid in order to not be conquered. Some finishing thoughts from this final chapter. Building alibis with which to explain away failure is a national pastime. The habit is as old as the human race and is fatal to success. Why do people cling to their pet alibis? The answer is obvious. They defend their alibis because they create them. A man's alibi is the child of his own imagination. It is the human nature to defend one's own brainchild. Building alibis is a deeply rooted habit. Habits are difficult to break, especially when they provide justification for something we do. It has always been a mystery to me, said Albert Hubbard, why people spend so much time deliberately fooling themselves by creating alibis to cover their weaknesses. If used differently, this same time would be sufficient to cure the weakness. Then no alibis would be needed. In parting, I would remind you that life is a checkerboard, and the player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You are playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. The master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. There is no penalty for the use of the key, but there is a price you must pay if you do not use it. The price is failure. There is a reward of stupendous proportions if you put the key to use. It is the satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked. So, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely you should read Think and Grow Rich. Absolutely, we're going to have principles of Think and Grow Rich inside of the American Dream or Lie. You must take control of your mind. You must be the captain of your life. You must decide with definitiveness of purpose what it is that you are going to accomplish and achieve in your life. And then you must pursue that to an end with relentless persistence in order to achieve the goals that you dreamt in your mind in the form of a seed. You planted, cultivated the tree until it bore you fruit. Thanks so much for hanging out with another book report, this one being Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Make sure you check out the description of this episode to get the Amazon link. It's an affiliate link, so you can grab this book for yourself. It helps out the channel when you use the affiliate link. So you can go get this book and read it for yourself. It's a hefty read, but boy, I tell you what, it is a good one. You can also go to the Wealthy Legacy Journey resources page, which will be attached in the description below for all the other books and book reports that we've put out for different books, such as Entre Leadership by Dave Ramsey, Good to Great by Jim Collins, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, just to name a few. It was awesome hanging out with you guys on today's episode on this book report of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.